To learn the good, the bad, and the reality of the off-grid lifestyle, click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Hit the bell notification. So as I'm sure you are aware, I've said in many videos now, we are going to build our tiny house on this trailer frame. It's a mobile home trailer frame. And I would expect that in 10 months or so, we're going to have this thing completed. So the other day I made a video, and in the video I briefly talked about insurance and my philosophy on insurance. Didn't go into a lot of detail about it. In the past, I've always refrained from making videos about insurance. And the reason I refrain from it is because it's such a hot topic conversation. And I was really surprised. The first time I ever made a video about insurance, the viciousness of people who disagree with me when it comes to insurance. Now, as I get further into this conversation, I know that a lot of people are going to have strong feelings about this, and I know that a lot of them are going to leave nasty comments down below. And I'm not asking you to leave nasty comments. I know you disagree with me, and that's fine. I'm not telling you you have to do this. This is just my philosophy on insurance. Now, I've actually learned this from a very famous radio financial expert. His name's Dave Ramsey. So in the video, I was talking about my $5,000 tiny house. Now, if they would insure the house, which I don't think they will because it's $5,000 house, they're going to consider it a shed probably. If something was to completely destroy the house, I have enough in emergency fund, which is collecting interest, that I could just simply go and take the money out of the emergency fund and build a new house. I am paying myself to take the financial risk on my house. Now, if I were to pay an insurance company, let's say I pay an insurance company, I don't know, let's just use a round number, $100 a month. That would mean that in, I don't know, 4 years, 4.5 years, close to 5 years, I would have given the insurance company $5,000. Well, if nothing ever happens to the house, stays there for 20 years, that means that I would have given them $20,000 to replace a house that never needed replaced. However, if I take that $100 myself, put it in the bank account, and I collect the $24,000 over that period of time, if the house does burn down, I take $5,000 of the $24,000 that I just made and I replace the house. Well, when I said that in the video, I got a lot of comments. And one of the comments was, Rob, you're paying the insurance company to take the risk. And I didn't understand that. Why? Okay, so I'm paying the insurance company to take a risk on something that is not a risk. There's no risk to me. If the house burns down, I have no risk because I got the $5,000 and I can easily replace the house. So what difference does it make if I take the risk or the insurance takes the risk, where the money comes from? Now, an insurance that I do pay is my truck insurance. There is a risk that I'm not willing to take. The truck I can replace. If I wreck the truck and I wanted to replace the truck, I could go and buy a brand new truck. Now, I've paid into insurance my entire life, and it has come up to $74,000. I checked it out, and I did some averaging. I've had one accident in my life. I backed into a tree. It cost $4,000. So that means there's still $70,000 that's owed to me. It's my money, right? Well, if I had to put all that money into a savings account, I'd have $70,000. But even if it wasn't illegal to go without insurance, I would still have insurance on the car. And here's why. It's because I cannot afford damages to someone else. So yes, I am paying someone else to take the risk for me. And they're making a ton of money off of me because I've never had a serious accident, and I hope I never will. I have had renter's insurance before. My landlord required me to have renter's insurance, and my house got broken into. Well, the first thing that happened is I called the insurance company, and what happened was the burglars took all my firearms. I had a firearm collection, and they didn't give me the replacement value. They said they devalued. There was a depreciation. I got enough money to replace 3 firearms. What they did was they said, okay, we will replace your stuff if you get robbed, if we want to. That's basically what they said. Well, here's the thing. 6 months later, my insurance agent called me. And he said, we're going to have to cancel your renter's insurance. Now, remember, I had to have renter's insurance. And I said, why are you canceling? I've been with you for 20 years. I've given you all this money and you're going to cancel me. Well, yeah, we can't take the risk. The guy who commented last week says, you're paying the insurance company to take the risk. They're not taking the risk. They're just taking your money. So it would have been better if I'd have just had a savings account. So I paid the insurance company to take no risk, and I ended up replacing the firearms myself. Life insurance. This is the one the famous radio talk show host, financial expert said 15 years ago was life insurance. So let's say an insurance company gives you $100,000 to your family upon your death. So if you put all that money into a savings account, let's say the insurance company is going to give you $100,000, but let's say that if you put all that money in there and you collect an interest and you invest your money correctly, you can get $1 million when you die. Your family will get $1 million from you when you die. Well, obviously, that's the better deal. And then there was one final question, and I have thought about this one a lot. I've looked it up several times, is if somebody gets hurt on my property. Okay, if somebody gets hurt on my property due to my neglect, this is what I read online, due to my neglect. So I have a bunch of trash here, okay? And if I don't put a sign up that says, watch for trash, you could get hurt. If they run into that trash and they get hurt, then I would be liable for their injuries. However, if I do put a sign there that says watch for injuries, most likely I won't have to pay for their injuries. I don't intend to ever have anybody on my property. Just the other day, the neighbor came by and he started walking down and said, hey, just stay there. It's dangerous down here. And I walked up there. He was not invited onto my property. Had he come on my property, he would have been a trespasser. At which case, trespassers most likely cannot file lawsuits against you because they were trespassing. The only time a trespasser can file a lawsuit is if they trespass all the time. Let's say a kid goes back through takes a shortcut through your yard every night, and he does it. And he trips over something one day, a lawnmower, and he hurts himself. He can sue you because you knew he was trespassing and you did nothing to stop him from doing it. So what I've done is I've hung no trespassing signs throughout my property. And I won't invite anybody into my property. And if I do, like my parents or something, and they come down, I'm going to make sure that they take reasonable precautions around the trash. I probably won't even take them around the trash. Health insurance. Health insurance has come up a lot since I started a YouTube channel. Here's my philosophy on health insurance. First of all, I don't trust doctors. That is just my personal opinion. I recognize a lot of people do, but I've had two people that I care for very much in my life that I feel like doctors harmed even worse than what their initial diagnosis was. And I'm big into naturalism. This is just, again, my personal belief. You don't have to believe it. I don't need the nasty comments either. My grandpa was a naturalist. He was a chiropractor and a naturalist. And for example, I used to get sinus infections really, 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 really bad. And at one time, I got a sinus infection so bad that I passed out on the middle of my living room floor. Called an ambulance, I went to the hospital, and the first thing they did was they drug test me. They said, are you on drugs? No, I'm not on drugs. I've been dizzy for weeks now. There's something wrong with me. And of course, they came back and said, oh yeah, well, you passed your drug test. Of course I did. I don't do drugs. There's something wrong with me. So they did a brain scan, and they found out that I had a major sinus infection. And the only thing they could figure is the sinus infection was reducing the amount of oxygen that I could take in. They gave me penicillin. Well, I didn't take the penicillin. I don't take drugs. I'm just not into drugs. What I decided to do was take garlic. Ever since that day, I've taken 2 garlic tablets. You can buy them at Walmart. And I've never had a sinus infection ever again. Now remember, I used to get a sinus infection at least twice a year. And now I've never had another one. In my entire life, I've had to go to the hospital or a doctor one time, and that was that sinus infection time. And it cost $2,000. And I paid it immediately, no big deal. Had I been paying into a health insurance program, health insurance is extremely expensive. Let's say it's $500 a month. What is that? That's $5,100 a year, $150,000 in my lifetime that I would have paid into health insurance and only used health insurance once in my life for $200, for $2,000. Now I recognize I am taking a risk. I get it. Yes, I'm taking a risk. Because I know somebody's going to say down in the comment section, but you're not that old yet. You could, die of a heart attack tomorrow. I could. You're right. But this is a self-aware risk. This is a risk I am willing to take. I understand the risk. And a lot of times you can go to the doctor and you can negotiate prices. One time I dislocated my ankle. I knew I dislocated my ankle, twisted my ankle, dislocated it. I put it back in the location myself. It was the most painful thing I've ever done to myself. But I did, and I'm fine now. So these are the things that I'm willing to accept as a risk, so I don't have to pay in $150,000 over my lifetime and only use $2,000. May never use it. When I go to the dentist, you can find cash paying dentists in the state of Missouri. And you go in and say, yeah, I don't have insurance, I got a cavity. And here's what he'll say. You want Novocaine or not? Yeah, I'd like to have some Novocaine. Well, it's an extra $100. Okay. So again, please no nasty comments. Thanks for watching.